Why do I think of the word comical when I think of Disgaea? It's not just because of the characters or the story or the art style, though those all contribute. I also think of the word comical because of the mechanics. So usually in strategy RPGs, you are strictly limited to one character per tile. Disgaea allows as many units as the player can figure out how to get onto that tile. Each character on that tile can get an attack. Other games have this to some extent, such as Ogre Battle and Advance Wars, but those games don't count each unit on that tile as a separate entity. Advance Wars and Ogre Battle only have multiple units per tile so as to model an army. If there are multiple units on one tile in either of those games, one unit cannot attack. Disgaea asks why this is the case. After all, aren't all of those units fully capable of battle themselves? Why should they not be able to attack? Disgaea creates a system with that idea, and then it takes that system out to its logical conclusion. This is an intense subversion of expectations for fans of strategy games. Next up, the level cap in Disgaea is 9,999. Most RPGs have a cap at 99, and that's only for people who grind really hard. Disgaea has systems in play that allow the player to mitigate the tedium of grinding characters to max level. However, I'm willing to bet that most people play Disgaea like I did when I first played it. By the end of the story of most Disgaea games, the player ought to have some characters, most likely the protagonist and story characters, around level 100. Disgaea is a game that is perfectly willing to let you think that it is just another JRPG. If the player doesn't engage with all of the Dark Assembly systems, they will spend a lot of time grinding specific maps to be able to just barely get strong enough to conquer the next challenge. I imagine that most players, like myself when I first played Disgaea, will do a bunch of grinding, finish the main story, and then call it quits. Later Disgaea games have made more transparent the method by which one plays the game optimally. The system is made most transparent in Disgaea D2, with the introduction of the cheat shop. In the cheat shop, the player is allowed to control the strength of the enemies and adjust how much experience they gain per fight. Then, the use of the cheat shop is important, because making the enemy's strength into a slider removes the tedium in going to the Dark Assembly, and actually encourages changing the enemy's strength by making it an easy factor. So now I'm going to talk about geopanels. What are they, and why do they matter? Well, geopanels are an extension of systems seen in other strategy RPGs. In games like Fire Emblem, various tiles affect hit rate and defense. A forest tile in Fire Emblem might increase defense by 1 and increase the likelihood of getting hit by 10%, while a mountain might increase defense by 2 and decrease the hit chance by 30%. This is exaggerated in Disgaea, where geopanels, or just tiles on the ground, can increase experience earned by 150%, increase their character's movement range, increase their jump height, decrease their jump height, decrease their movement range, invert their HP and MP, and just generally affect every other stat in the game. So, in conclusion, Disgaea's gameplay functions to complement the silliness of the story by exaggerating conventions of the strategy role-playing game to such an extent that it becomes comical.